5 years passed since humans first met the Coalition. Much had changed in that time. Human ships now traveled freely through Coalition space. Earth goods were traded on many worlds. And most importantly, the Zixians kept their distance. On the Coalition's main world, a new statue stood in the central plaza. It showed a human and wolf standing side by side, looking to the stars. The plaque beneath it read, "In honor of the Earth forces who taught us that differences can become strengths when joined in partnership." Captain Ta Jin, now Ambassador Ta Jin, stood before the statue with Storm at his side. The old wolf moved slowly now, his muzzle white with age. They had been through much together. "It's quite an honor," said a voice behind him. Ta Jin turned to see Ambassador Xorl approaching. "Yes, it is," Ta Jin agreed, though Storm seems unimpressed. He smiled as the wolf yawned widely. "The Coalition Historical Council has finished their new education program," Xorl said. "Young ones of all species will now learn about Earth's history and the human-wolf bond." They walked together through the plaza. Aliens of many species moved around them. Some still looked nervously at Storm, but most just nodded respectfully. "What do they teach about us?" Ta Jin asked. "The truth," Xorl said. "That on Earth, two species found a way to work together instead of fighting. That humans did not run from predators, but learned to run with them." In a school nearby, young aliens sat in a classroom. Their teacher, a bird-like alien named Kel, showed them pictures of Earth. "Long ago on Earth," Kel explained, "humans were not the strongest creatures. They did not have sharp claws or teeth. They could not run very fast. But they were smart." The children watched the screen as images changed to show ancient humans. "Wolves were strong hunters with sharp teeth and good noses," Kel continued. "They lived in family groups called packs. At first, humans and wolves stayed away from each other. But then something amazing happened. They became friends." A small green child raised a hand. "Why would they be friends with something with big teeth? Weren't they scared?" "Good question," Kel said. "They were scared at first. But both humans and wolves realized they could help each other. Wolves helped humans hunt. Humans shared food and made warm places for wolves to live. Over many years, they learned to trust each other." Meanwhile, far from Coalition space, a Zixian ship detected something near their border. It was a small probe with a strange symbol, a circle with a silhouette of a human and wolf inside. The Zixian commander recognized it immediately. "Turn around," he ordered. "This space is claimed by the pack hunters. We will find another route." Back on Earth, Min Su had retired from active duty. She lived in a house near the mountains with Shadowfang. Every morning they walked through the forest together. Sometimes they met hikers who recognized them from news videos of the war. "Is it true," a young boy asked one day, "that aliens are afraid of dogs?" Min Su smiled. "Not afraid, exactly. They just never had what we have. A friend who is different from us, but understands us anyway." She patted Shadowfang's head. "That's what makes Earth special. We learn to be stronger together." In his office at Coalition headquarters, Ambassador Ta Jin received a message from Earth. A new class of wolf pack teams had graduated from training. They would be assigned throughout Coalition space, not as warriors now, but as peacekeepers and explorers. The message included a picture of young Jin with 20 human handlers and their wolf partners. Behind them hung a banner with words from an ancient Earth saying, "The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." Storm, lying at Ta Jin's feet, lifted his head at the sound of a distant howl. It came from the Coalition Park where some of the younger wolf pack teams exercised. The old wolf listened, then raised his own voice in answer. A sound that had echoed across Earth for thousands of years and now echoed among the stars. Ta Jin placed his hand gently on Storm's head. "Yes, old friend," he said softly. "We made it, together, as always." Across the galaxy, humans and wolves continued their ancient partnership, and wherever they went, others watched and learned that the most powerful force wasn't teeth or claws or weapons, but the bond between different beings who chose to stand together. 1 month after the Great Hunt, the Coalition Grand Council met on their home world. For the first time, humans sat as full members of the council. Captain Ta-Jin represented Earth, with Storm lying quietly at his feet. The old wolf's fur had more gray now, but his yellow eyes were still sharp. Ambassador Coral stood at the center of the room. "Today we officially welcome Earth into the Coalition," he announced. "Their help against the Zixians has proven their value as allies." The room filled with polite applause. Not all council members looked happy, but none opposed the decision. "We also approve the creation of the Interspecies Combat Division," Sorrel continued. "This new force will train Coalition soldiers in human-canine tactics." Young Jin stepped forward. He was tall and strong with kind eyes. His wolf partner, Ranger, was a young male with thick red-brown fur. They would lead the new training program. "We are honored to share our knowledge," young Jin said. "The bond between humans and wolves took thousands of years to develop. We don't expect other species to form the same bond quickly, but we can teach you to understand predator tactics." In the weeks that followed, Coalition soldiers came to train with young Jin and other Wolfpack teachers. They learned to think differently, to move differently. Some of the braver aliens even tried working directly with wolves. A lizard-like soldier named Care was one of the first to volunteer. He stood nervously as young Jin brought Ranger toward him. "He can smell your fear," young Jin explained. "Try to stay calm. Hold out your hand slowly." Care's hand shook, but he did as instructed. Ranger sniffed his scaly skin, then licked it once. "He accepts you," young Jin said with a smile. "Now we begin." Day after day, Care trained with Ranger. He never formed the deep bond that humans had with wolves, but he learned to read the wolf's signals, to follow his lead when tracking. "Amazing," Care said after they successfully completed a training mission. "On my world, we run from creatures with teeth like this. We never thought to run with them." Young Jin nodded. "That is the difference. Wolves taught humans to be better hunters. Humans taught wolves to be better partners. Together, we became something new." Meanwhile, the Zixians had pulled back to the edges of Coalition space. They still attacked sometimes, but with less force. Coalition intelligence worked to understand why. Duha and Midnight led a special mission to capture a Zixian commander. They succeeded, bringing the alien back for questioning. The captured Zixian was huge, bigger than other Zixians they had seen. Scientists believed he was very old. "Why do you fear the wolf teams?" Duha asked him directly. The Zixian clicked his mandibles. When he spoke, the translation device made his voice sound rough. "We have met your kind before." Duha looked surprised. "Humans? Where? When?" "Long ago, far from here. We found a small human settlement at the edge of another galaxy. We thought they would be easy prey." The Zixian's many legs shifted. "We were wrong." "What happened?" Duha asked. "They had the four-legged shadows with them, the creatures that move like water in the dark. We lost many warriors to them." The Zixian seemed to shudder. "We learned then to avoid the two-legged and four-legged hunters." This news excited the Coalition scientists. Humans had been to other galaxies, had met Zixians before. It seemed impossible. "He must be confused," one scientist said. "Humans have only had space travel for a few hundred years." But Duha wasn't so sure. "Or maybe," she said, "the Zixians met humans who were taken from Earth by other aliens long ago. Maybe those humans brought wolves with them." The idea was fascinating and a little frightening. Had other aliens been watching Earth? Had they taken humans and wolves to other parts of space? If true, Ambassador Coral said, it means the bond between humans and wolves is known beyond our galaxy. Known and feared. Ta-Jin smiled at this thought. Earth might be new to the stars, but the partnership that had begun around ancient fires, when brave wolves first approached human camps, was already a legend among the stars. Red lights flashed across all coalition screens. Emergency alarms sounded on every station and ship. The Zixians had launched their biggest attack yet, hitting 3 core worlds at the same time. On Earth's military base in space, General Sun Ki watched the reports come in. He was an older man with gray hair and a serious face. He had fought in many battles on Earth, always with wolf teams by his side. "The coalition fleet is taking heavy losses," Officer Park reported. "The Zixians have new ships, faster and with better weapons." "And on the ground?" Sun Ki asked. "Worse. Coalition soldiers are retreating. The Zixians move too quickly in the dark. They hide underground between attacks." Sun Ki nodded slowly. "They're using burrows, like many predator species on Earth." He turned to his command team. "Call all wolf pack units. We need every team ready to move in 2 hours." Soon, 20 ships filled with human soldiers and their wolf partners left Earth space. More joined from other human outposts. In total, 200 wolf pack teams headed toward the attacked worlds. On the coalition command ship, Ambassador Xorl looked worried as Sun Ki explained his plan. "You want to send all your forces to just one planet?" Xorl asked. "But there are 3 under attack." "We will take back 1 world completely," Sun Ki said firmly. "Show the Zixians we can beat them. Make them fear us." "And the other worlds?" "Small teams to help your forces hold position, but our main force must stay together for the Great Hunt." "The Great Hunt?" Xorl asked. Sun Ki's eyes were steady. "That is what our ancestors called it when humans and wolves hunted together thousands of years ago. Before we had guns or ships, we had this partnership." He placed a hand on the map. "We will hunt the Zixians as our ancestors hunted, as a pack." On the planet Vexor, the wolf pack ships landed in the forest outside the main city. Zixians had taken control of most buildings. They moved through underground tunnels to attack and then disappear. Min Su led the first team into the city. Shadowfeng moved slightly ahead, nose to the ground, tracking the enemy's scent. Other wolf teams spread out, each taking a different path. "Remember," Min Su said to her team, "wolves find, humans strike. We move together." Shadowfeng stopped suddenly, ears forward. He looked at a street drain and growled softly. "They're using the water system to move," Min Su realized. She called Sun Ki. "General, we found their paths. They're underground in the water tunnels." "Good," Sun Ki replied. "All teams report similar findings. Now we begin Phase 2. Phase 2 of the Great Hunt was something humans had done with wolves for thousands of years. Some teams made noise, driving the Zixians from their hiding places. Other teams waited quietly at exit points, ready to strike. In the city center, Sun Ki stood with his old wolf partner, Thunder. The large brown wolf was the oldest in the pack, but still strong. They watched as the plan unfolded. "Look," Officer Park said, pointing to her screen. "The Zixians are moving. They're coming up from the tunnels." As the Zixians emerged, confused by the noise and movement, they ran right into the waiting wolf pack teams. The wolves attacked first, going for legs and weak joints. The humans followed with weapons designed to pierce the Zixians' hard shells. Coalition soldiers watched in amazement as the humans and wolves worked together. They didn't need to speak to each other. A look, a hand signal, or a soft sound was enough. They moved as one unit, predicting each other's actions. By nightfall, half the city was clear of Zixians. The coalition forces joined the wolf pack teams, learning from them, following their lead. From his ship above the planet, Ambassador Xorl watched the battle maps change as more areas turned from red to green. "They're actually doing it," he said quietly. The Zixian commander, watching from his ship, saw something he had never seen before: his hunters being hunted. For the first time, the Zixians began to retreat not as a trick, but in real fear. The Great Hunt had begun, and across the stars, the wolves' howls signaled that the time of running was over. Now it was time to fight back. News of the wolf pack's success spread quickly through coalition space. Videos from the mining outpost showed humans and wolves fighting side by side against the Zixians. Some coalition citizens found the footage frightening. Others found it amazing. 2 weeks had passed since that first battle. The wolf pack teams had stopped Zixian attacks at 3 more outposts. Each time, they worked the same way. Wolves tracking the enemy through smell and sound, humans providing tactical support. On the coalition's main space station, a meeting was called to discuss the human forces. Hyun, a human diplomat and former K-9 handler, represented Earth. His wolf companion, a white female named Frost, sat quietly at his feet. Ambassador Xorel opened the meeting. We have gathered to discuss the human K-9 units and their role in our defense strategy. The room was filled with representatives from many worlds. Some looked at Frost with fear, others with interest. The wolf pack teams have been effective, General Vrex admitted. The Zixians seem confused by them. They don't expect coordinated attacks from multiple species. That is because no other species would form such a partnership, said a tall, thin alien with purple skin. It is unnatural. Hyun spoke calmly. What seems unnatural to you has been part of human history for thousands of years. We evolved together. Wolves taught humans how to hunt as a pack. We taught wolves how to trust and work with others. He gently placed his hand on Frost's head. She didn't move or make a sound. Her blue eyes watched the room calmly. Look at her, Hyun continued. Wolves are predators, yes. They can be dangerous, but they are also loyal, intelligent, and gentle with those they trust. The issue is not just the wolves, said a bird-like alien. It is what your partnership with them says about humans. You think like predators. You act like predators. How can we be sure you won't turn on us someday? The room went quiet. This was the question many had been afraid to ask. Hyun thought for a moment. Humans are complex, he said finally. Yes, we have the instincts of hunters. We can be violent when threatened. But we also build, create, and care for others. We protect those weaker than ourselves. He looked around the room. Just as we are doing now, fighting to protect coalition worlds from the Zixians. A small green alien spoke up. I was at the mining outpost when it was attacked. I saw the wolf pack teams. They were terrifying. But they saved us. When the lights went out and we could not see the enemy, the wolves found them. General Vrex nodded slowly. Reports from all battles showed the same pattern. The Zixians used darkness and stealth. Our forces struggle to counter this. The wolves do not. Because that is how wolves evolved to hunt, Hyun explained. In forests, in darkness, using smell and sound more than sight. Ambassador Xorel raised 2 of his 4 hands. Perhaps what makes humans different is exactly what we need right now. Not everyone agreed. As the meeting continued, coalition members argued about whether to expand the Wolfpack program or restrict it. In the end, they reached a compromise. Wolfpack teams would continue their work against the Zixians, but under coalition supervision. More importantly, a new training program would begin, where coalition soldiers could learn human wolf tactics. As Han left the meeting with Frost, a young alien child approached them cautiously. Can I touch the wolf? The child asked. The child's parent looked nervous but didn't stop them. Hyun nodded. Frost, be gentle, he said. The white wolf sat perfectly still as the child reached out a trembling hand. When the small fingers touched her fur, Frost turned her head and gently licked the child's hand. The child giggled. She's soft. Yes, Hyun said with a smile. Predators can be soft too, when they choose to be. As they walked away, Hyun knew something had changed. The coalition was beginning to see what humans had known for 40,000 years, that the partnership between human and wolf made both species stronger than either could be alone. The Earthship Defender arrived at Coalition Space Station Delta 7. Unlike other human ships, This one carried 30 soldiers and 20 wolf hybrids. Each wolf had been specially trained for space combat. They wore thin body armor and had small devices on their collars that helped them breathe in different atmospheres. Min Su stepped off the ship first. She was tall with short black hair and serious eyes. Beside her walked Shadowfang, a large gray wolf with a scar across his right eye. The coalition officers waiting at the dock stepped back nervously. "Commander Min Su, Earth Special Forces, Wolfpack Division," she said. "We're here to help." A blue-skinned alien stepped forward. "I am General Vrex. I will be overseeing your operation." He looked at Shadowfang with obvious discomfort. "My team is ready to deploy immediately," Min Su said. "We've studied the Zixian attack patterns." "Yes, well," Vrex said, "there are some rules we need to discuss first." The rules were many. Wolves could not be in common areas without muzzles. They had to stay with their human partners at all times. And most importantly, wolf pack teams could only engage Zixians after regular coalition forces had tried first. Min Su listened politely but with growing frustration. These rules would make their job harder, but she nodded agreement. For now, they would play by coalition rules. 3 days later, alarms sounded across the station. Zixian ships had been spotted near a small mining outpost. "All defense teams to ships," the announcement called. Min Su gathered her wolf pack team. "Remember your training. Stay with your partners, and let's show them what humans and wolves can do together." The coalition commander allowed only 5 wolf pack teams to join the defense force. Min Su and Shadowfang led them. Their ship was small and fast, perfect for quick strikes. When they reached the mining outpost, the attack was already underway. 3 Zixian ships surrounded the outpost, firing at its communication towers. Coalition ships fired back, but the Zixians were quick and hard to hit. "This isn't working," Min Su said to her team. "We need to get inside the outpost. The Zixians will board it soon." Her team nodded. They knew the plan. While coalition ships fought in space, the wolf pack would defend from inside. Their small ship slipped past the fighting and docked at an emergency entrance. Min Su led her team inside. The outpost was dark, with only emergency lights working. "They've already cut main power," Min Su said. "Shadowfang, search." Shadowfang lifted his nose, sniffing the air. His ears moved forward, catching sounds too quiet for humans to hear. He growled softly and looked down a dark hallway. "He's found something," Min Su told her team. "Wolves lead, humans follow." The 5 wolves moved ahead, their human partners close behind. They wore night vision goggles that let them see in the dark. The wolves didn't need them. Their eyes were made for hunting in darkness. They turned a corner and saw them, Zixians. 5 of the insect-like creatures were cutting through a door with laser tools. They were even more frightening up close, taller than humans, with hard shells and too many legs. Min Su gave a hand signal. The wolves tensed, ready to spring. "Now," she whispered. The wolves attacked as one, jumping at the Zixians with silent speed. The aliens turned, surprised by this new threat. They had weapons, but they were too slow. The wolves were on them in seconds, biting at joints where the hard shells were weak. The humans followed with stun weapons, aiming for the spots the wolves exposed. Working together, they took down all 5 Zixians without a single shot fired. Through her radio, Min Su heard coalition forces still struggling against the Zixian ships. "Wolfpack 1 to command. We've stopped Zixians inside the outpost. There will be more. Request permission to hunt freely." There was a pause, then General Vrex's voice came through. "Permission granted. Do what you must." Min Su looked at Shadowfang, whose yellow eyes seemed to glow with purpose. "Hunt," she said simply. The wolves led the way deeper into the outpost, tracking the enemy no one else could find in the dark. For the first time since meeting aliens, humans didn't hide what they were, hunters who had learned from the best hunters on Earth. An emergency alarm woke Captain Ta Jin in the middle of the night. Storm was already alert, ears forward, yellow eyes shining in the dark room. "Captain to command center immediately," the computer voice announced. 5 minutes later, Ta Jin entered the command center of the Aurora. The main screen showed a coalition outpost. It was on fire. "What happened?" Ta Jin asked. "Attack by unknown ships," Officer Lee explained. The outpost managed to send one message before communications went down. The screen changed to show a shaky video. A scared-looking alien spoke quickly. "They came without warning. Our sensors didn't detect them until too late. They look like..." The alien looked over its shoulder, then screamed. Something large and dark moved in the background. Then the video cut off. "When did this happen?" Ta Jin asked. 6 hours ago. We just got the message relay." Over the next week, 3 more outposts went silent. The coalition called an emergency meeting with all species. The meeting room was packed with representatives from 20 different worlds. Ambassador Chloral stood at the front, looking grave. "We have identified the attackers," he said. "They call themselves the Zixians. They live beyond our explored space." The screen behind him showed an image that made many aliens gasp. The Zixians looked like giant insects with hard black shells and many legs. They had sharp mandibles that could cut through metal. "They attack without warning," Sorrel continued. "They destroy communication systems first, then target life support. Our forces have been unable to predict where they will strike next." In the back of the room, Jun Ho, a human military strategist, raised his hand. "May I ask a question?" Sorrel nodded. "These attack patterns," Jun Ho said, "they sound like hunting tactics. They isolate their prey, cut off escape routes, then move in for the kill." The room went quiet. "Yes," Sorrel admitted. "Our analysts came to the same conclusion. The Zixians are predators. They hunt." Jun Ho stood up. "On Earth, we have studied predator tactics for thousands of years, sometimes by fighting them, sometimes by working with them." He looked around the room. "Like our wolves." Some aliens shifted uncomfortably. "What are you suggesting?" asked a tall, bird-like alien. "I'm suggesting that humans might understand these tactics better than most coalition species," Jun Ho said carefully. "If the Zixians think like predators, we need to think like predators to stop them." Later that day, Jun Ho met with Captain Ta Jin and showed him maps of the attacks. "Look at the pattern," Jun Ho said. "They're not random. The Zixians are testing defenses, looking for weak points." He pointed to several locations. "These will be their next targets. It's what pack hunters do on Earth." Ta Jin looked thoughtful. "You think we can predict their movements because we've studied wolves?" "Not just studied them," Jun Ho said. "We've lived with them, hunted with them. We understand how predators think because part of us thinks the same way." Jun Ho pulled up an image of coalition defense ships. The coalition military is made up mostly of species that evolved as prey. Their instinct is to defend, to run, to hide. But against hunters like the Zixians, that won't work. "What will work?" Ta Jin asked. Jun Ho smiled slightly. "Fighting fire with fire. Predator against predator." The next day, Ta Jin brought Jun Ho's analysis to the Coalition Council. They listened with worried faces. "You want to predict Zixian attacks based on wolf behavior?" One council member asked doubtfully. "Not just predict," Ta Jin said. "Counter. Humans have special forces trained to work with canine partners. They could be effective against the Zixians." "You want to bring more wolves into coalition space?" Another member asked, alarmed. "I want to save lives," Ta Jin said firmly. "The Zixians are hunters. We need hunters to stop them." The council argued for hours. In the end, fear of the Zixians outweighed fear of Earth's wolves. "Very well," Sorrel said finally. "We will allow a small human canine force to help protect our outposts. But he added with a stern look, "They will be closely watched." As Tajin left the meeting, he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn why, throughout human history, wolves had been both feared and respected. 6 months had passed since first contact. Humans now lived on several coalition worlds and space stations. Most aliens had gotten used to seeing humans, but they still stared when they saw wolves. Duha walked through Blue Star Station with her wolf companion, Midnight. She worked as a security officer in the human section of the station. Midnight was pure black with eyes that seemed to glow in dim light. "Officer Duha to security desk," her radio crackled. "We have a report of stolen goods in Market Section 4. "On my way," Duha replied. She turned to Midnight. "Come on, boy. We have work to do." The market was crowded with aliens of all kinds. Some moved away quickly when they saw Midnight. Duha was used to this reaction by now. "What was stolen?" she asked the shop owner, a small green alien with 6 arms. "Rare gems from my homeworld," the alien said sadly. "Very valuable. The thief ran that way. But there are too many people. I couldn't follow." Duha nodded. "Midnight can help." She took out a cloth from the shop and held it to Midnight's nose. "Find," she commanded. Midnight sniffed the cloth, then put his nose to the ground. His tail went straight as he picked up the scent. Duha followed as Midnight weaved through the crowd, tracking the invisible trail only he could smell. Aliens gasped and moved aside as the wolf passed them. Some looked afraid, others curious. Midnight ignored them all, focused only on the scent. The trail led to a quiet hallway away from the market. Midnight growled softly, looking at a door. "Good boy," Duha whispered. She drew her stun gun and pressed the button on the door. Inside, a tall alien with purple skin was opening a small box of shining gems. "Station security," Duha announced. "You're under arrest for theft." The alien looked up in surprise, then horror as Midnight entered the room. "Keep that beast away from me," he shouted. "Stay where you are," Duha ordered. The alien obeyed, eyes fixed on Midnight. Within minutes, other security officers arrived and took the thief away. The stolen gems were returned to the shop owner, who thanked Duha warmly. "Your wolf has a good nose," the shop owner said. "The best," Duha agreed, patting Midnight's head. The news of what happened spread quickly across the station. By the next day, everyone was talking about the wolf who caught a thief. Not all the talk was good. In the station's main meeting room, Captain Tajin faced angry alien officials. "That predator animal caused panic in the market," said Chief Ziv, the station's head of security. 3 citizens reported feeling threatened. "Officer Duha's wolf was on a leash and under control at all times," Tajin argued. "And they caught the thief when your security cameras couldn't." Ambassador Xorl raised 2 of his 4 hands. "The issue is not whether the wolf was effective. The issue is the fear it creates. Many coalition species have natural fear responses to predators." "What do you suggest we do?" Tajin asked, feeling a growing worry. "New rules," Chief Ziv said firmly. "All Earth canines must be restricted to human areas unless given special permission. They must wear muzzles in public spaces, and they cannot be used in security operations without approval." Tajin stood up straight. "These animals are part of our teams, our families. They've worked with humans for thousands of years. We understand this bond is important to your people," Sorrel said more gently. "But you must understand our concerns. If humans wish to join the coalition, you must respect the feelings of other species." As Tajin left the meeting, he saw Duha waiting with Midnight. The wolf's ears were up, alert as always. "How bad is it?" Duha asked. "They're afraid," Tajin said simply. "And fear leads to rules." "Midnight just did his job," Duha said, her hand resting on the wolf's head. "I know," Tajin replied, "but our way of life is strange to them. They don't understand that what makes wolves frightening to them is exactly what makes them valuable to us." As they walked away, many alien eyes followed them, some with fear, some with wonder, and a few with a growing respect. The stars looked different from this part of space. Captain Ta-Jin stood on the bridge of the Earth exploration vessel Aurora and watched the view screen. His ship hung in space near the meeting point. Today was a big day for all humans. Today they would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, they're here," said Officer Lee, pointing at a blip on the radar. A large ship appeared in the distance. It was 3 times bigger than the Aurora, and shaped like a smooth oval. It glowed with blue lights along its sides. "Send the welcome message," Ta-Jin ordered. His voice was calm, but his heart beat fast. As they waited for a reply, Ta-Jin felt something warm press against his leg. He looked down and saw Storm, his gray wolf hybrid companion. Storm's yellow eyes looked up at him as if to say, "It will be okay." Ta-Jin patted Storm's head. "I know, old friend. Big day for both of us." The aliens answered quickly. They called themselves the Galactic Coalition. They were not one species, but many who worked together. They had been watching Earth for some time and decided humans were ready to meet them. "They want to come aboard, Captain," said Communications Officer Park. Ta-Jin nodded. "Tell them we welcome them. Prepare the meeting room." 20 minutes later, 3 aliens walked onto the Aurora. The first was tall with blue skin and 4 arms. The second had scales like a fish and breathed through gills on its neck. The third looked almost like a large deer walking on 2 legs, with soft brown fur and large eyes. "I am Ambassador Xorl," said the blue one. "We welcome humans to the greater galaxy." Ta-Jin bowed slightly. "I am Captain Ta-Jin of Earth. We are honored to meet you." The meeting went well at first. The aliens spoke about trade, knowledge sharing, and how humans might join their coalition. Then Storm walked into the room. The reaction was instant. All 3 aliens jumped back. The deer-like one made a high sound of fear. "What is that creature?" Ambassador Xorl asked, 2 of his arms raised in alarm. "This is Storm, my companion," Ta-Jin explained. "He is a wolf hybrid, a domesticated Earth animal." The aliens looked at each other with what seemed like worry. "You keep predators as companions?" the scaled one asked. "Yes, humans have lived with wolves and their descendants for over 40,000 years," Ta-Jin said. "They help us hunt, protect us, and are our friends." The aliens spoke quickly in their own language. They seemed upset. "Is there a problem?" Ta-Jin asked. Ambassador Xorl tried to look calm. "No problem. We are just surprised. In our cultures, we do not form bonds with predator species. We find it unusual." Just then, the ship's security chief, Du-Hei, entered with her black wolf Midnight at her side. The aliens moved even further back. "There are more?" Ambassador Xorl asked. "We have several K9 units on board," Ta-Jin explained. "They are part of our security team." The deer-like alien whispered to Ambassador Xorl, who nodded. "Captain Ta-Jin," Xorl said carefully, "we wish to continue our talks, but we request that these wolves be kept away from future meetings." Ta-Jin frowned slightly. "Of course, if that makes you comfortable. But you should know that on Earth, our bond with canines is important to us. They are not just animals to us. They are partners." The aliens looked at Storm, who sat calmly by Ta-Jin's side. Storm's yellow eyes watched them without blinking. "Yes," Ambassador Xorl said quietly. "We can see that, and that is what concerns us." Ta-Jin could tell this first meeting had changed. The aliens still smiled and talked about peace, but their eyes kept moving to the door where Storm had left. They were afraid, and Ta-Jin wondered what that meant for humanity's place among the stars. The stars looked different from this part of space. Captain Ta-Jin stood on the bridge of the Earth exploration vessel Aurora and watched the view screen. His ship hung in space near the meeting point. Today was a big day for all humans. Today they would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, they're here," said Officer Lee. pointing at a blip on the radar. A large ship appeared in the distance. It was 3 times bigger than the Aurora and shaped like a smooth oval. It glowed with blue lights along its sides. "Send the welcome message," Tajin ordered. His voice was calm, but his heart beat fast. As they waited for a reply, Tajin felt something warm press against his leg. He looked down and saw Storm, his gray wolf hybrid companion. Storm's yellow eyes looked up at him as if to say, "It will be okay." Tajin patted Storm's head. "I know, old friend. Big day for both of us." The aliens answered quickly. They called themselves the Galactic Coalition. They were not one species but many who worked together. They had been watching Earth for some time and decided humans were ready to meet them. "They want to come aboard, Captain," said Communications Officer Park. Tajin nodded. "Tell them we welcome them. Prepare the meeting room." 20 minutes later, 3 aliens walked onto the Aurora. The first was tall with blue skin and 4 arms. The second had scales like a fish and breathed through gills on its neck. The third looked almost like a large deer walking on 2 legs, with soft brown fur and large eyes. "I am Ambassador Xorl," said the blue one. "We welcome humans to the greater galaxy." Tajin bowed slightly. "I am Captain Tajin of Earth. We are honored to meet you." The meeting went well at first. The aliens spoke about trade, knowledge sharing, and how humans might join their coalition. Then Storm walked into the room. The reaction was instant. All 3 aliens jumped back. The deer-like one made a high sound of fear. "What is that creature?" Ambassador Xorl asked, 2 of his arms raised in alarm. "This is Storm, my companion," Tajin explained. "He is a wolf hybrid, the domesticated Earth animal." The aliens looked at each other with what seemed like worry. "You keep predators as companions?" the scaled one asked. "Yes, humans have lived with wolves and their descendants for over 40,000 years," Tajin said. "They help us hunt, protect us, and are our friends." The aliens spoke quickly in their own language. They seemed upset. "Is there a problem?" Tajin asked. Ambassador Xorl tried to look calm. "No problem. We are just surprised. In our cultures, we do not form bonds with predator species. We find it unusual." Just then, the ship's security chief, Duhei, entered with her black wolf Midnight at her side. The aliens moved even further back. "There are more?" Ambassador Xorl asked. "We have several K9 units on board," Tajin explained. "They are part of our security team." The deer-like alien whispered to Ambassador Xorl, who nodded. "Captain Tajin," Xorl said carefully, "we wish to continue our talks, but we request that these wolves be kept away from future meetings." Tajin frowned slightly. "Of course, if that makes you comfortable. But you should know that on Earth, our bond with canines is important to us. They are not just animals to us. They are partners." The aliens looked at Storm, who sat calmly by Tajin's side. Storm's yellow eyes watched them without blinking. "Yes," Ambassador Xorl said quietly. "We can see that, and that is what concerns us." Tajin could tell this first meeting had changed. The aliens still smiled and talked about peace, but their eyes kept moving to the door where Storm had left. They were afraid. And Tajin wondered what that meant for humanity's place among the stars.